This lesson is all about putting everything that we've learned in the past 6 lessons into one solo and seeing how fluid we can make the lines sound. The song that we're going to be working with is loosely based off of Jammin' with Jimmy, but instead I've added a few different things at the bridge and some little different parts about the verse. It's a typical AABA form in the key of G. It's going to be 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of G, a quick 2, 5, 1, 5. Now we're going to repeat that twice, and in the second A section, and just a little differently, we don't have the G to the D at the end. And then instead of coming to a B7, which that's what happens in Jammin' with Jimmy, we're going to go straight to the 6th chord. We're going to play our E7 for 2 bars, our A7 for 2 bars, our D7 for 2 bars, and then we're going to do a 1, 6, 2, 5. And that gets us back into the A section. So to start off, I'm going to play this solo for you, and then we're going to break it down note by note. Let's begin by taking a look at the first 2 A sections. This first lick over the G chord is one of the first types of lick we learned. It's one of these that just encompasses the chord tones. So in the key of G, just as a reminder, our chord tones are B, D, and G, or G, B, D in order. So what we're doing here is we're sliding into our B note, playing up the chord tone, so B, D, and now we're going to do our enclosure. And go F sharp, A. Now to some, as I mentioned before, that might kind of look like a B minor arpeggio, which it is, or you can look at it as we're enclosing our G note and keep it at that. So we have, so now we're here. We're going to kind of break out of our F shape or E shape, however you want to see it, and play down the scale chromatically to start with. So we're going to go F sharp, F natural, E, D, D flat, C. So that's going to sound like Now there's a couple different fingerings. I listed this one because I like this one, and I think this is pretty close to what Jimmy Rivers did. He would go, and I've seen some other guys do this where they go G, F sharp, D, C sharp, C. To me, that it gets a little confusing because the line is going down, but we're doing a lot of jumping back up from this note to, this note and this note to that note. So I kind of like it going. So now we're on that C. We're going to come back up to the D, and then you go down the arpeggio, or the triad, chromatic down to your F sharp and your F. And that gets us ready for our C chord. It goes to flat 7, leads us to the C, or it's acting as the 5 chord for the 4 chord, a secondary dominant. So, to review just what's playing over the G, we've got enclosure, some chromatic stuff and some scale stuff. Now we're just really outlining and digging into that flat 7, and then we're in our C. So a little faster. Alright, now we're at the C chord. So with the C chord, we're mainly playing around with the flat 7 of the C, which is our B flat, out of this A shape. So what we're doing here is that's that for that first bar. We're just outlining our 3rd of our C, our 5th, flat 7, and our 1. It's something you see Charlie Christian do a lot, Barney Kessel, Jimmy Rivers. A lot of those early swing guys really dig into that shape. Herb Ellis, for example. So we're going to go. So just kind of riffing off of this shape right here. Then we're going to come grab the 13, the A, and that's going to lead us back into our G. So all together with that C, little blues stuff over there, we've got now we're going to come out to the B flat and slide into our B. Now that happens right on the downbeat of the G chord, which is okay, that we're not landing right on a chord tone, because we're going to express that we're in G here in a second by playing some tones that are in the G chord. You don't always have to go right on the chord change. Sometimes it sounds a little too thought out if you do that. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So really just digging into this shape here and the notes that are out of the G major scale within that. So kind of pedaling off this B, so E, B, D, B, C, then back up to this D. And then we're going to go up to the E. So we're going E flat just as a passing tone. Once again, it's not right. It's on beat 1 and it's not a chord tone, but we're going to outline this chord using other notes within this little bar here. So pedal off E, kind of creating a little motif just like this one. Then, but instead of going back up to there, instead of doing that, we're going to go and land us back right into that D, which is a chord tone of our G chord. So all together, that little motif in bars 5 and 6, we've got and now this brings us to a 2-5, first 2-5 of this progression here. We've got an A to a D, and then a G back to a D, each a half bar. So what we're going to do here to outline this is play out of some arpeggios of these chords. So we're going to come up to this E shape / F shape here for our A chord. Then we're going to play in our A shape for our D chord, and come back down to this G and this D. So this would be our E / F and then our C. So we've got just going down the arpeggio, E, C sharp, A, G. Then we're going to come up for the D7, F sharp, A, C, E flat. Now we can do that and come to the E. The reason I chose E flat is because what's happening is you're kind of doing 2 lines at once here, whether you realize it or not. You're doing this thing. That's one line, that whole entire movement, but you're also just kind of going like this. And we're going to resolve to that. So if you can think about that, we're going. And then for the next part, we're going. So what we're doing here is, it is a quick G chord, but I'm just playing straight out of D because I know we're going to get right into the D, and I want us to really set up a good resolution for the downbeat of the start of the next A section. So I'm just going, just the chord tones, D, C, A, F sharp, D, D flat or C sharp, C, open A. And that's going to lead us right back into that shape. We'll get there in a second. So this 2-5-1-5 is going to sound like this. A little faster. So this first section, or this first A section all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're on to the second part, or the second A section. So we just had finished from this lick. I'm going to land right here on our B to resolve to our G chord in the E/F shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to play another one of those enclosures or encompasses of the G note. We're going to go B, D, F sharp, A, that B minor arpeggio over that chord. And then we're going to resolve to our G, then do a chromatic A, B flat, B, and then we're going to play D, B, E, F. Once again, that flat 7 leading us to our C chord. It's a very Barney Kessel, Jimmy Rivers-esque thing. You have a nice kind of jump in there. So we've got, and that's going to lead us into our C chord. And this one, instead of highlighting our flat 7, kind of the blues stuff there, we're going to outline the major 7 on this one. So we're going to start with playing our E, and then do a triplet. And that might look like we're playing out of our G shape, but we're not. What I'm highlighting is, our G chord, but I'm not highlighting the G chord. I'm highlighting the 5th of C, the major 7, and the 9. Triplet, and then B, C, E, triplet. So that's that first part. Then up on this G, A, B, E. So to think about it, you have an 8th note pickup, 2 sets of triplets, and then 4 8th notes. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just hang on that. So that first part of the G to the C chord is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're coming back into our E/F shape and just kind of messing around with some scale notes and some enclosures here. So first we're going to go 3, or D, E, D, D flat, and back to the D. This is a thing you hear Django Reinhardt, George Barnes, Chet Atkins, Jimmy Bryant, a lot of these guys use it, and I believe it really originated with George Barnes and Django. So we've got, so just going up the scale here, like, then we're going to do the same thing on the G, go all the way up to the B, A, B, and now we're at our 2/5s, our A7 to our D7. So what we're doing here is we're going to play off the extension of this chord shape, which is this guy right here. Some people call it their D shape out of the cage system. I like to think of it as the extension. And then we're going to play out of our D chord right here. Some people call it the G shape if they're thinking of the cage system. So this is how we're going to do this. We're going to go. So that's the C sharp, that's the 3 of A7, the B, the 9, the G's the flat 7, the E's the 5. And then we're going to come back up and play a C. This is the flat 7 of D. And go C, A, F sharp, D. That's C, flat 7, A, 5, F sharp 3, D, 1. A really nice voice leading. Right to the G chord, which is in our C shape. And what we're going to do here is just a quick little pentatonic lick. So it's so we're kind of merging this guy and this guy together, the C shape and the A shape, and we're just going G, A, B, D, A, G. So all together, we've got the second A section. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're on to the B section, and this one goes up to the 6th chord of the G, so that's going to be our E7, our A7, which is our 2, and then our 5, D, and then we have a 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. So starting off, what we're doing, we talked about addressing some quick 2/5s, some long 2/5s, and creating lines that are within the same general area of shapes that just flow into one another. So this is what this part of the tune is really trying to get at here. So to start, we're going to play out of this shape right here, this G shape of the cage system for the E chord. But keep in mind, what I'm really thinking is we're resolving to the C shape of the A chord. I've mentioned several times I don't really like the cage system, the G shape and the D shape. I see more of it as extensions, and this is one of those examples where I'm seeing, there is some E-shaped stuff going on here, right there, and right here. But I'm really thinking of I'm leading the E shape, or the E chord, to this A chord, and then I'm leading this A chord to this D chord, and then this D chord to this G chord. And that's my thought process for resolving the chords together. So to start off, we're creating a motif. Triplet, 2 and 3 and 4. Triplet, 2 and 3 and 4. So that's our motif. So we're going to start on our C sharp, not a chord tone, but that's okay. So playing off of this D right here. So that's our flat 7, and the B is our 5. Moving down to our 3rd, the G sharp. Then we're doing that triplet thing off that. So G sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, G sharp. Chromatic down to our E. F sharp, F, E, 9, flat 9, 1. So over the E7 we've got, again a little cleaner. And then I'm kind of shifting my hand just a little, just to get into this shape, and kind of how I address these. And I'm going to go. Hear the motif again. So we have A, B, A, G, A. It's highlighting that A7 chord, landing down on the E, which is the 5, and then E, F sharp E, or 5, 13, 5, 3, the 11th fret's the C sharp, and then we're landing down on the B, which is okay. It's the ninth of the A7 chord. So we've got so all together E7, A7. Alright, and now we're going to address this D chord by playing really out of this shape right here, this E/F shape. And we're going to kind of do a scale pattern that maybe you might hear a guy like Jimmy Bryant do, or maybe Leon Rhodes. This is something that I am assuming they stole from some fiddle players, and I'm assuming that they stole a lot of that from Stéphane Grappelli, because this is a very Stéphane Grappelli / Django-esque line. It's also kind of a line that's based off of a cool instrumental that Merle Haggard's Strangers did. That's his backing band, called Steel and Corn. So that's something to check out if you want to get kind of some more of these lines in your playing. But anyway, we're going to go D, E, F sharp, D. So 1, 2, 3, 1, or 1, 9, 3, 1. Then we're going to go 9, 3, 4, 9, or 2, 3, 4, 2. So that's D, E, F sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, E. Then we're going to keep that pattern going and go F sharp, G, A, F sharp. So what we're doing, we're going up 3, then back to the first note we played. Okay? And then we're going to go G, A, B, G. Oops. And now, here comes the 2-5. Or I'm sorry, the 1-6-2-5. We're going to go B, B flat, A, G. Now here comes the 6th chord. G sharp, F sharp, F, E, A flat, G, E, D. I'm sorry, F sharp, E, D, C. That one's a tricky line. So what's happening here is we're playing the 3, flat 3, 2, 1 of our G chord. Then we're playing the 3, 9, flat 9, 1 of our E7 chord. However you want to see that. There's a lot of chords there. Then we're playing the 1, major 7. It's really just a passing tone. You don't have to analyze it that much. Flat 7, 5 of our A7, thinking of that extension there. And then we're playing the 3, 9, 1, flat 7 of our D chord. However you want to see that chord. So we've got and then that would end us right into the G chord for the last A section. So the B section all together, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now we're on to our last A section. So we're going to be working mainly out of this C chord shape for our G chord. And this one's also going to utilize a few bends, kind of reminiscent of some Barney Kessel, Charlie Christian, Jimmy Rivers, and George Barnes stuff, because I really like this part of the song. So first off, we're coming back to our good old enclosure. Easy. B, D, F sharp, A, D, E, G. And now we're going to slide up to our B flat, slide to our B, and chromatic up. This is a chromatic line. You see this thing? A lot in Western swing, stuff like that, and playing around those licks. So we're going. And then we're going to come up and give that a little quarter bend. From a B flat to right in between a B flat and a B. So that's... And that's going to set us up to go right into the C chord, where we're going to come down kind of like the first line that opens up this song. C, B, B flat, A, G. Then we're going to go A, G, G flat, F, E. Oops. And then we're going to go G, A, G, E, C, A. It's really digging into that chord. And creating some nice voice leading and interesting movement. And then that A is going to lead us right back into this B for the third of the G chord. So that first two parts we've got and now here comes the last G kind of line, and then our 2-5, and we're done. So we're going to come up just the scale for the most part. We've got B, we're going to skip over D and play D, skip over C and play D, so it's B, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and that chromatic thing, 7th fret, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, and then we're going to bend up to our 6 or our 13. It's a very Django-like and George Barnes things to do. So we're going to go. And then do the 2-5, we're just going to go E, C sharp, quarter notes just really quick. You can add a little slide if you want. And then nice little resolution, D, C, B, G. And then a little weight of an eighth note, and that's just D, E, G. Just a little pentatonic thing out of that line. So it's so altogether, this last line is so altogether, the last A section. I hope you found something useful in all of this and seen how it all applies to one another and can create a really unique and swinging sound and solo. And these are all just a lot of simple things. We haven't even gotten to really imposing other changes, imposing just some really out stuff like whole tone scales and augmented chords and triads, a lot of the things you might hear Leon Rhodes or Red Volkart do in his playing. You first got to start off simple and build from there, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So really learn this thing and then tweak it around and do as much as you can with it and incorporate it into your playing by just jamming as long as you possibly can stand it on these things.